Today I'm doing the case profile program and reflection on a client of mine who we've run through this last phase in class. The client's name was Matt. He was 27 years old, he's a male, and he competes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or BJJ. He's had a strong exercise history as he played high-level soccer for most of his life. In that time, he started doing some structured gym work and as part of a team, and he's continued that on even past his playing years. He's also had 3 to 4 years of boxing experience, and then he's entered into the field of BJJ in the last 2 to 3 years. He's also a strength and conditioning coach himself, so he's very confident in the gym and pretty up to date and comprehensive in terms of his knowledge of the strength and conditioning world, which was a great thing to have. So in the past, he's had a hamstring injury in early 2020, so it was a bit of a strain, a bit of a tear through the hamstring. Did extra volumes of running during COVID as he couldn't get into the gym, but he's fully rehabbed that with a physiotherapist since then. He's also had an injury to his left shoulder, so a bit of a tear through the back of his left shoulder. He gets some pain when pressing overhead, but that was also fully rehabbed with the physiotherapist. That's just lingering pain that could also be attributed to his sport, so BJJ, and the positions he gets into. So we had a few goals we discussed in the initial assessment. So we wanted to keep the aerobic work in the program very specific to the 6-minute rounds of BJJ. He wanted to improve on the initial assessments we've done, so he wanted to see some improvement in that. He wanted to keep the sessions below 60 minutes as he works and trains already. He wanted possibly 2 sessions a week to support his already 4 sessions of BJJ that he's doing a week. In the long term, he was also using this as a tool to learn about his own coaching skills and how to coach his own client, as he is an S&C coach himself. His biggest priority was injury prevention. He wanted to be able to keep training on the mats, and the strength training had been proposed to him by his coaches and his trainers as a way of preventing those injuries that can occur on the mats. And he wants to be able to train in the gym and on the mats for BJJ consistently, so he didn't want to keep coming in and out of injury and having to miss training. And he also wants to maintain a high level of strength to support his performance in his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So the testing measures we did originally, we did our SS screening. So we did some blood pressure. Both trials we did with Matt, he was in that standard range according to the ESSA data there, the reference I put in there. So he's a low risk for that. His heart rate was... his resting heart rate was 60, 66. So again, according to those values from ESSA, he's a low risk for that. We then took his height, weight, according to his BMI, which is a healthy BMI. His waist circumference and hip circumference as well is on there. So he's got that 1 to 2 hip ratio, which again is healthy according to the data put forward through the ESSA screenings and through the ESSA information. So moving on, the objective measures we had for Matt. So for the upper limb test, we did grip, as grip is a massive contributor to your grappling and your BJJ. As you can see, there's a bit of a discrepancy left to right. This could be attributed to the shoulder issue he's having in his left. But those scores he achieved there are still above average according to a paper on grip strength and grapplers. We then progressed into the core testing, so I wanted to do something that wasn't just a static test, as the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has a lot of flexion extension through the core on and off. So we did a 1-minute sit-up test. There's a lot of great data in that paper again from Andreatu about reps and why. So he's above average there, even in the pre and post testing. So you can see we've had an improvement there by a few reps. So he's still in that above average category. Lower body testing, we did a 3RM trap bar test. So in a paper about the hex bar by Kamara et al., he's got a pretty good average there for excellent for his body weight in relation to his body weight. We did manage to creep that up by 5 kilos just in this initial muscular endurance phase that we did in the 3 weeks of testing. The cardiovascular test we chose was the 2K rope. So he originally started with his 709, that regressed down to a 703. So I progressed to a 703. So average for the first testing, and that progressed into good for a male of 25 to 30 years. And there's a really comprehensive paper with Ian Gee et al., which I'll explain a little further in the program, relating 2 km time trials into aerobic and anaerobic performance, which is one of the reasons that testing was decided upon. And for flexibility, we did the active straight leg raise test. So both were left and right legs were greater than 90 degrees, but he did improve the range, still keeping that even left to right. Above 90 degrees is excellent. We just wanted to keep on top of it from that previous hamstring injury, and there's a paper in there from Spanias et al. About hamstring injuries and reoccurrence. So for the exercise prescription, this is the session we've kind of progressed through for Matt. So the focus of the phase is anatomical adaptation or muscular endurance to begin with. So we started on the bike to increase a bit of blood flow, get a blood flow going so we were ready to go, so we didn't jump in cold, particularly when we were doing this program. It was starting to get a bit cold in Sydney, so it was good to get on the bike and get him moving. After that, we moved into a 4-part warm-up, so some active straight leg raise to directly address that hamstring mobility and flexibility to make sure it stayed. We did some P&F in that, so it was trainer assisted. He'd drive against me, he'd stretch out. We then went into a dead bug. So we added the bend resisted format to get some core engagement, some upper body engagement of the lats, a light band for that activation. Then we'd lower the leg one at a time to get that core engaged too, so we'd be ready to go for our trap bars at the start. To move it into some upper body to get ready for that secondary block, we did some shoulder taps. So a bit of core stability in that, but also got the shoulders warm and stabilized the shoulders and address that shoulder issue. And then we went into a Cossack lunge to open up the hips and get him ready to go for that trap bar squat. So a pretty comprehensive 3-round warm-up. The trap bar was chosen, and there's a paper from Kamara there to support it. It's good for fighters. It not only works the grip strength, it is great for working quad endurance and building quad strength, but it also doesn't compress the spine and load the back in a way that's too detrimental for a BJJ athlete. I started with the higher reps because I wanted to, even though he is an experienced coach and lifter, I wanted to see how he would move through the reps, and 12 reps allowed me to do that. We partnered that with some bandaged shoulder external rotation. Fantastic paper in there from Gibson et al., and then followed up by Anderson about using external rotations and increasing that band strength to a point with isometric holds that we could know that his shoulder was not only improving, but getting even left to right. That was addressing that shoulder pain he brought up in the initial consult. The secondary block, we did some toes, elevated Romanian deadlifts, and some half kneeling landmine press. So the deadlift was there to address that hamstring imbalance, but also to strengthen up the posterior to balance out that trap bar we put in the initial. The half kneeling landmine shoulder press was it's a way to progress him to the overhead pressing, which he wants to get to, but in a manner that wasn't overloading that shoulder and causing him any pain. The row erg, we based off that 2 km tire trial, we did added some time to that, and we're doing 1,000 meter repeats. So at a pace based off that time trial, so then we could increase the volume at a lower intensity over time, break that out, and then retest. And the retesting we did showed you a great improvement, and Ian Gee et al. Has some information there to support that. So moving forward, we wanted to progress into hypertrophy, maximal strength, and then power work, just to support each. That's what the program moving forward would look like. We also wanted to continue rehabilitating that shoulder and hamstring, so progressing the intensity on those banded external rotations, challenging that shoulder stability, making it pretty bulletproof there. And then we wanted to continue to talk to the client every day like we did in the sessions to make sure that the impact that the strength work was having on his BJJ was positive and not negative, which was what he wanted out of this program. So professionally reflecting on it, things that opened my eyes, even though I've been in the industry for a long time, just preparedness when working with another coach. Super important to have those references there and always to refer it back to his sport, because he's a smart guy and he wanted to know what he was doing was the right thing. So learning and empathizing, so knowing the sport, I wanted to know as much as I could about BJJ, so he knew that I cared about his sport, not just about the gym. A big thing I learned is that not all progressions is linear. So from the picture there, you can see you can have a plan, but it's going to change dramatically. This comes into not making assumptions about about his sport, about the person, or about how much he knows because he is a coach. And his sport and his life is priority. The gym is not his priority. So I'm there to support him. And some references. Thank you.